So again, thanks for
Yeah.
joining us. And we just heard from Chuck a short devotional in his own journey. So I wanted to open it up for some questions that you might have of him. And maybe while you're thinking of them, I can start. You mentioned just really becoming aware of implicit bias, and that's something that I personally have kind of tried to identify in my own life in light of everything that's been happening with our current situation. And so, what are some ways, or how do you how do you recommend doing that? Is sounds like you're very self-reflective.
Yeah, I think when and I think I noticed myself doing it the other day. Um, I'll come into a new situation, meet a new person, say in the emergency department, and here's the story. So it was a child who had trouble breathing, and we were able to deal with that. But Dad, had a chain around his neck, and he had tattoos up his arms, and but he was really appearing to be a very good father. But I realized, okay, I am looking at him and making a judgment. I have implicit bias in him. And while I was getting ready to send the child home, um, and I walk in the room and he's got music blaring really loud to his kids, and I'm like, okay, take a deep breath, and he turns the music down and we start talking. And he looks at me and goes, "Are you a believer?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay, slap me in the face, Lord." And he talked about his little girl who had some developmental delays, that he envied her relationship with Jesus. You know, um, so so I think it's little things like, or big things like that, that um, kind of catch myself when I make a prejudgment and say, okay, I don't know anything about this person. Let me take a step back and just keep my eyes open and my ears open. Um, and there's a book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, by Ibrahim Kendi, and he talks about. I haven't read it yet, but he talks about racism versus anti-racism, and in his own journey, and he's an African American man, that he portrays racist behavior, and he has to confess to himself so that he can move on to anti-racist behavior. And I think the same way in implicit bias, it's saying, okay, Lord, forgive me, I just recognize this, and help me to learn from it and move on from there and be more your representative.
Great, thank you very much. Do we have other questions tonight? Well, and you are, and so I know you founded Crossroads
Mhm.
Health Center in Over the Rhine area. I wasn't real clear. Are you still very involved with them, or
No,
what?
I retired. I'm in the process of trying to cut back. I think I'm doing better at it. So I retired from clinical care about 2.5 years ago from them. I
Okay,
still do my clinical ER job to support my academic job, but was just trying to kind of simplify my life a little bit. But um, yeah, they're continue to grow. That's 3 different sites: one in Over the Rhine, one in Western Hills, and one in Harrison, and then two school-based clinics as well. So
great.
yeah,
Well, great. Well, thank you so much for your
you're
time tonight
welcome.
and your insights, and we pray blessing for you and your family and your practice.
Thank you.